Lovely.
I tell you what, your son is getting
About 2 of the guys.
He's growing. I'm hoping he'll get a little bigger.
Talking and recording.
It's okay for a freshman, but I need about 4 more inches, about 40 more pounds.
No. They gonna drop black.
He had a good year playing football before freshman. He started as a wide receiver, so he's an opportunity to get his hands on the ball. Coach said he's got some just things. Looking forward to it. Keep me I will.
Call the meeting to order. If everyone would please stand. Councilman Robinson will do the invocation.
Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, Lord, for our community. We ask you, Lord, to lead us and guide us to make the decisions that are pleasing in your sight and pleasing for the citizens of our community. Amen.
Amen. If you would, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to take this time to welcome each and every one of you here tonight. It shows that you are interested in what happens with the town of Winterville, and we welcome you here. It was laying there.
Do you have one? Okay, sorry.
You know, left it laying there. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do you hear a motion?
Mayor, members of the council, before we approve the agenda, I do have a quick switch for you. What was the last new business item on the natural gas, the prepayment discussion, has been moved up to presentations, which will be under or after recognition of employees. So I wanted to make that notation for you this evening.
Okay.
Oh, and also, I apologize, but under recognition of employees, number 2, Mr. Alan Jones, I left off the N on Alan. So I hope he will forgive me this evening. That's it.
I make a motion we accept the minutes with all the approvals that have been made.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, recognition of the employees. The first one is, here we go. That will come.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to just ask all 4 of my guys to come on up. I'll do them all at the same time, make it easier on everybody.
They all look like they're ready to give speeches tonight.
They've been practicing all day. So we've got 3 new employees and 1 employee that received a promotion. I'll start with Mr. Roger Vincent. I think everybody knows Roger. He was promoted from equipment operator to senior equipment operator. And then we've got 3 new employees that were outside hires, and each one of them has been hired on as an equipment operator in the Public Works Department, and we're very excited to have them. We've got Mr. Michael Roach, Mr. Randall Cobb, and Mr. Alan Jones. And all these guys are loving what they do now. They love working for the town, and if any of them have anything to say, I'll let them speak.
Speech.
That's your time.
Each one of them are required to give a 30-minute speech.
Oh, my goodness.
Like I said, we're just glad to have these guys on board. We've got plenty of work for them to do, and we'll certainly keep them busy. Thank you, guys.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, now, how about the other 2 are not coming?
Yes.
David Moore.
Randall Cobb and
No, you should introduce the first four.
Okay.
Connie Torres is next.
Oh, yeah, that sure is. I'm sorry, I marked it off in advance. The next one is Miss
Connie.
Torres,
Yes.
and she is isn't this something new for the town?
This is what we're calling a new position with the fire department. Chief Moore is gonna go into detail.
So this is Miss Connie Torres. She's been here almost a month now. Already made a huge impact at the fire station. Gets along well with everybody and has done a truckload of work. She is from Florida, originally from Puerto Rico. She has, I guess today, moved into Winterville. She's married,
Yay.
has 2 kids, 9 and 14. So Miss Connie Torres.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be here and working alongside with all of you and serving the community.
Okay.
Now we'll tell the rest of the story. She's also the sister of Sergeant Edwin Santiago, so we're excited to have both of them with the town of Winterville. Thanks, Chief.
Now, did I understand you correctly that this one?
Joshua Pomeroy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I probably will mess up on this pronunciation. Joshua Pomeroy.
There you go.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm proud to introduce you to Josh Pomeroy, the newest member of the Parks and Rec team. He is also in a new position. That's a recreation programmer position. He's been with us for about a month. Local guy, born and raised. Came with ECU, came from Winterville. I think he's going to be moving back into Winterville shortly, he hopes. He's done a really good job with us thus far. You've probably seen him around at football, Halloween events and stuff like that. So he's hit the ground running. We're happy to have him.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for me here. So thank you.
That's
Welcome,
good.
Josh.
Appreciate
Evan, and Josh. I had a chance to meet Josh when Evan was out of town. So we had a little fiasco, and I called Evan actually and went by and met with Evan to let him know that even though he was out of town, Josh was new to the job. Josh and the other guy handled that situation very well. I was very impressed with him. Even in his absence, they knew what to do. They knew how to handle it and help diffuse the situation. So I think you got a good one.
Thank you.
And you were at the drop-in program last week, weren't you, Josh? The drop-in program.
I told you we were throwing him into the fire.
Yes, most definitely. Did a good job with our program.
Ms. Terry, got one question. For each department, what's the number that we have now in each department? For public work, for recreation, and for fire and rescue?
Parks and Recreation is now 5 full-time, including myself.
Okay?
The rest of you gentlemen. Anthony?
This electric has 6 full-time, 2 part-time contract. Meter department has 3.
Say 6 and what?
I'm sorry. The electric department has 6 full-time employees. We have 2 contract part-time employees, and the meter department has 3 full-time employees, and public buildings has all those employees. So.
Plus some more, plus some more.
Public Works, including myself, is 15. There's six gentlemen in the water and sewer department, 7, I believe, in the what we call the streets and Public Works department, and then got 1 gentleman that takes care of all the grass, cutting the grass, keeping up the grounds and stuff like that.
Fire department has myself, Ms. Torres, 2 full-time paramedics, one half-time equivalent fire inspector divided between 2 people, and 14 part-time engineers that fill 1 seat.
And shortly you will add,
Correct.
how many?
13 more.
13 full?
13, okay.
Good evening. The police department has 20 full-time police officers, 2 full-time vacancies, 2 reserve filled positions, and 2 reserve vacancies.
Good evening. Finance department has 6 full-time and 1 part-time.
Thank you.
We're still going.
The planning department has 1 full-time employee.
Administration has 4. I'm ticking that off. You have myself, Amy, Stephen Penn, and Don Harvey.
So you have 4?
4. I think that's everybody. Oh, I forgot Ben.
Ben has been let go.
So we have 5.
He didn't count, does he? Sorry, man.
Hey, Bobby Petrino, you've been let go.
Ben, I include you in your own department. No, I'm just kidding. Ben is with administration too.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ben got fired on his day off.
It's been a long day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, now, did you make sure I got it right? She is under this, the natural gas prepaid.
That's next.
Okay. All righty. Item number 7 is a presentation by the Natural Gas Prepay Contract with Ben and Robert.
Evening, Mayor, members of council. Let's see, I have a brief presentation. I believe it's been placed in front of you at your chairs. This will be a brief recap of what we've already discussed in our workshop from last week. I'd also like to introduce Ms. Deborah Ross. She's here with us tonight from Raleigh. She is an attorney with Fox Rothschild Group that is our counsel reviewing this natural gas purchase contract and has been advising us throughout this process. So, what we're discussing this evening is the wholesale cost prepayment of natural gas fuel for our NTE Kings Mountain Energy Center that we are in a 20-year power purchase agreement. If you recall, this partnership and how this is all going to work, it's got a lot of moving pieces and players in it, and this is all of them, I believe. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. We've got Sequent, Morgan Stanley, Peak, which is a public energy authority of Kentucky, the town of Winterville, ACES, which is, we currently work with them through the power plant. They are checking the market for energy purchases and natural gas prices. Summit Utility Advisors, who they've been with us for a while, helping us out in the electric side of things. They were involved with our PPA with NTE, Fox Rothschild that Ms. Ross is with, and then NTE Energy. This is kind of a little summary of the roles each of these folks play in this conglomerate, if you will. We've got Sequent. They are the procurement and supplier of the natural gas. Morgan Stanley will be buying that gas. Peak will be providing it to the town of Winterville. They are a natural gas acquisition authority located in Kentucky. Morgan Stanley Capital Markets Group will be remarketing that unused gas should we not need it in the plant. The municipal participants in this situation are all of those that are involved in the Kings Mountain Energy Center, comprising of that first 5 group in there. That City of Concord, Greenwood down in South Carolina, City of Kings Mountain, New River Power and Light, which is up at App State and Boone, and then the town of Winterville. Also note that there are the smaller 4 eastern towns in the eastern part of the state that are also taking power from NTE, and they are also looking at participating in this similar agreement. You have Fox Rothschild, I introduced Ms. Ross, Summit Utility Advisors. They're also advising us and checking on the impacts of this agreement relative to our PPA with NTE. ACES, as I said, they are the buyer of energy for NTE as well as NTE, and they are going to be the recipient of the gas. They're going to generate the electricity and send that to us. So this is a elementary diagram, and y'all seen this before, of how our existing natural gas procurement for the power plant works. Sequent provides 100% of the fuel to NTE at the plant in Kings Mountain. They burn it in our fancy plant, and they then send us electricity along with an invoice every month, and then we send money back to NTE. The way this new agreement will be structured is such that Sequent will provide 90% of the gas through this contract to Morgan Stanley, through Peak, to us. Then we will be in turn paying Peak for the gas. They'll send us an invoice for 90% of what's utilized in the plant for our load each month. We will then in turn provide that gas to NTE at the plant. They will send us electricity along with that invoice. We don't get to cut that out of here. But the invoice will now have a reduced amount that we're paying for the gas. Currently, we pay a straight-through direct cost to NTE for the gas that we use in the plant. Now we'll be paying for the electricity plus the 10% of the gas, because there's got to be the remaining amount, will come from Sequent to the plant in Kings Mountain. We'll get invoiced by NTE for that amount as well to bridge the difference. So just a couple of big points that we discussed. The actual savings cannot be validated until the final closings of the agreement and the issuance of the bonds. But in this discussion, we've estimated, based on the requested discount that we will see on prepaying for such a large quantity of gas, about 35 cents per decatherm, and that's a measurement of gas that would be used in this equation. So we're estimating a yearly savings of about, for us, at that discount rate, of about $114,000 per year. That's $570,000 over 5 years and $3.4 million over the length of the contract, should that discount rate remain. In the contract, we're looking at a minimum discount of 23 cents. So in that case, we would be looking at about $75,000 per year, $375,000 over 5, and $2.25 million in the length of a 30-year contract. Keep in mind, this is a 30-year gas purchase contract. These figures are based on, again, 90% of our load projection with a conservative heat rate. We discussed that 6.4 value during the workshop. That's the efficiency at which the plant is operating. That number can range at the low end is 6.4 up to maybe 7.1. So we were using conservative numbers on its efficiency. Again, note that the savings are based on the heat rating as well as the closing savings per decatherm. At worst case scenario, we would go back to the situation that we are in right now, where we're just paying that direct cost to NTE for the gas that's coming through the plant at no discounted rate. This process is only available to qualified municipal natural gas end users, which the town of Winterville is a qualified entity as set forth in the rules and regulations for natural gas prepayment transactions by state and federal government. Note that these opportunities only come around rarely and are made possible when the overall financial stability warrants such a transaction. So the market's good for this type of situation for all parties involved. So that's why it's available and something we're putting forward to council. As with any contract, there's pros and cons, and they all need to be evaluated, and risks versus rewards. We have been and currently still working through some of those as we speak. Ms. Ross was just updating us on some of them, and they are very few issues. However, they are arguing in our favor, certainly, on those. So the steps that we're looking at having to go through for this agreement is, and we've already completed a majority of these. All of the parties in the plant are interested in participating in this. We've hired legal counsel as a group, so we all benefit from a set of eyes looking at the interest of all 5 entities. We've solidified the consultant advisors to participate. We have held work sessions to present and educate and answer any questions. Tonight, it's item 5 to adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of the gas supply contract and associated certifications. And the last item would be to execute the contract agreement and other certifications as long as the terms become acceptable and that we receive concurrence from our legal counsel, which is present tonight. Just a quick summary about the bonds and the term lengths and the reset periods that we discussed. They are initially issued at a fixed interest rate for a defined initial period, and what we're looking at, we thought we were looking at 5, but it'll probably be more like 6-year initial period. After that period, they're refunded in new interest rates for the additional 6-year interval will be established. That could vary. That's that 35-cent discount rate we're looking at. Our target, depending on the market, that may fluctuate. It may go down a little bit. It may go up, depending on how the market and the trends are looking. Again, the minimum is 23 cents. So after that initial term, the bonds will be refunded at a new interest rate. But if they cannot hit that 23-cent minimum, then we have the option to opt out of the contract for that period of time. However, as we've discussed before, any savings is better than no savings. So a penny saved is a penny earned. So even if it drops below that minimum, we would certainly take a look at it, but we would more than likely recommend that we stay with it for that period. Obligations to the town. Through the tolling agreement, we would be taking the gas only that we need for the operation of the plant. If the quantity scheduled for the town is less than what our obligated requirements are, then that gas is resold on the market and we get the credit, that 35-cent credit back. That is what, if you recall, Mr. Ballinger with Peak was stating, even if we don't take it, we get the credit for it. And should we have what they call a load loss, say for instance we had a large manufacturing plant in town and they were to vacate, get off our grid, we lose a significant amount of load, we were able to have Morgan Stanley remarket that gas, we would still receive that 35-cent credit. We have no obligation to the bonds that Peak, Public Energy Authority of Kentucky, will be issuing. There are provisions in that in the contract that allow underutilization and sharing among the 5 entities, as well as that because the sale from Peak to the town is a long-term transaction, is backed by municipal debt. We do have to take some extra steps, and one of which is the resolution that we're bringing before you this evening. That's just stating that the town does intend to enter into the contract if it is like we have seen it before, it's substantially equivalent or better than what we have presented to you thus far. There'll be a tax certificate, a closing certificate, and an opinion of counsel. Those documents would be signed either by legal counsel or the town manager. In addition to doing executing those documents, the town's agreeing to purchase gas from revenues from the electric utility. And such, we must keep revenues such that we can make those payments. Therefore, we must charge rates high enough to ensure payment for the gas. We must maintain adequate funding resources for those reserves, as well as comply with all regulations regarding municipal bonds. So with that, that's just a recap and a quick summary. And the action that we are requesting this evening is the adoption of the authorizing resolution. But I'll open it up for
In addition to the adoption of the resolution, we would like you basically to give us permission to continue to negotiate through our attorneys, et cetera, the contract, and to execute that contract, assuming that the final product is substantially equivalent or better than the version we have currently. So with that said, Ms. Ross is here, I believe, for any questions, but it is as appropriate for council to take action at this point on the agenda.
Anyone have any questions or comments? Do I hear a motion that we approve the resolution?
Yeah, wait a minute. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Ms. Ross, I know when we met before, they was talking about other entities or other municipalities was looking at this. Have they, I know they was going around, have they made their rounds yet?
So Concord voted last week on a resolution like your resolution.
Okay.
Greenwood, South Carolina is supposed to vote the week after Christmas, as is Kings Mountain, and they are waiting to...
Thanksgiving.
Oh, sorry, not Thanksgiving, not Christmas, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
So they're waiting, and we are having a conversation with New River Power and Light tomorrow. They have, because they're a state entity, they're part of Appalachian State University, they have a different kind of resolution. They don't do it like a town council, so they have to figure out how they would go to their board of trustees.
Okay.
But you would be the second entity to act because Concord acted last week.
Okay. And when you looked at the contract, you didn't see any back doors, as they say.
There's really only one issue that we're negotiating now. It will not be an issue that would hurt the town in any way. We just want to make sure that all the responsibilities are appropriate because there's a lot of people involved in this transaction, and we want to make sure that if anything goes wrong with the delivery of the gas, that the appropriate people are the ones who have that legal responsibility. You don't have that legal responsibility. We want to make sure that we figure out who's got to do what when, and so there are a couple issues that we were talking about today to get into that agreement, and also a letter agreement that you will have with NTE saying that you're going to be now providing 90% of the gas.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My question is there any difference between an advisor attorney compared to an attorney that represents you?
Well, we are engaged with the town. So we represent your town and all the other entities, which means that it's our obligation to look out for your best interests and to read all of these agreements. Sometimes there could be an attorney that advises and looks at it from a bigger perspective, but we have a duty to you as your attorney. Does that help? Do you have another?
No, and if I could add to that, Keen Laster, who is our town attorney, our regular town attorney, who is not with us tonight because he is sick, and I think you all know, for Keen not to be here, he does not feel well at all. So he sends his apologies. It certainly hasn't happened that I'm aware of. Keen, from a broader perspective, has looked over the documents, has been in contact with staff. So if I had to say there was an advisor role in this particular issue, it would probably be Keen.
I make a motion we move for the adoption of the gas purchases authorizing resolution, page 259 in our agenda.
Councilman Moore, could I also ask you to give staff authority to continue to negotiate through our attorneys?
Give staff
Thank
authority
you.
to continue
Contract.
negotiations.
Right, thank you.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Bring this to the table.
We will continue to keep you all abreast of how things are going with our contract with NTE as we are embarking upon our year anniversary being in our new contract. So I know Anthony's pulled together some figures for me, and they show some pretty good information. So once that's all pulled together, we will disseminate that to council as we enter into the upcoming budget season, so you can try to look and make some decisions that I know are on your minds regarding electric rates, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Okay, item number 8 is public comment period. We have 2 signed up for that. I will read the rules about that. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made to the council during the meeting except during the public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the council on any single matter. The town council may elect to take no action on the matter addressed by a speaker, may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council meeting, or may refer the matter to the town staff for disposition. Copies of the town public comment policy are available in the rear of the assembly room. And the first that we have is Valerie Cox Tyson has signed.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
My reason for being here tonight is on behalf of my cousin that recently expired. His mother expired October the 20th, and then on the 24th, he expired. And the thing with Ronnie Earl Cox was that he loved Winterville, and he went as far as to spend most of his time in the library doing things to represent Winterville, like his music. He made one song pertaining to Winterville called I Remember. He even did a video on Tyson and Railroad, and it appeared on WNCT. He also ranked number 18 as far as that song is concerned with Aristopia Records. He was nominated for the Grammy Awards in Greenville, North Carolina. He was a nominee, and he just loved Winterville. And the thing that I'm asking, if I can, is to just have a space dedication. And when I say space dedication, I'm not saying a big showcase or anything or plaque. I've noticed that over in the right-hand corner when you first walk into the library, there's the Langston Boyd shelf, but I'm not even asking to go in that shelf. I'm just asking if we could possibly put a picture of Ronnie in a frame, a nice frame, with a little write-up of him on behalf of Winterville and in honor of him, because this was truly something he loved doing. This was something he loved as far as Winterville was concerned. And if you ever had an opportunity to listen to his songs, it would make you think of how things were back when he was growing up. And that's basically what I'm asking. It's just a simple space dedication in honor of him from Winterville.
Any questions or comments?
Question for Ms. Robertson. You're on the library board, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't this be something that you would probably take to the library board?
Well, the town of Winterville actually owns the building.
Okay.
The library provides the staffing of it. So to me, this would be something that even if we took it to the library board, we would need a recommendation from the town board first, because the building belongs to Winterville. The books belong to Shepherd, and we pay for the personnel. But I think that by us being the owners of the building, that we need to first approve it here, and then we can take it to the library board for their recommendation or whatever.
And I do have a photo of Ronnie, where the song was originated from. It's a photo with him sitting on top of the world, and it's called New World, and that was in reference to the song I Remember.
I have watched his videos. I've listened to his videos, and a lot of people in North Winterville are really proud of the way that he portrayed our community. You see names and places of things and people around that we all know, the corner especially, you know, and places like that. And we all knew Ronnie, and we know that he was a very special person. And we saw during the time they ran the video of him singing in a barbershop quartet from D.H. Conley. And it shows just the kind of person he was. There were 4 guys, only one young black man, that was Ronnie. And Slim Short had him up there singing and stuff. But he went on to record quite a few videos and rap, but he always remembered his hometown.
I'd like to make a motion that the town will look into making a space, if we can find a space dedicated to represent, to honor him into the library. I'd like to make that motion at this time.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. And I thought the write-up that you got in here was pretty interesting, that he had a special place at the library that he, I guess, hung out. I'll use that term. That Mike could. Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second.
So again, and this is, I'm just making for clarity is you just want to put a photo and a write-up,
yes.
Right? Photo and a write-up in a little space. Okay.
I could see this special place in the library with having that letter or picture or whatever it is dedicated to him. Do we need to check with the librarian before we do they?
I can take the council's recommendation to our meeting. I don't think we're meeting though till next year, Valerie. Okay, I can do that, and if it takes the board meeting to do it, but if it doesn't, then we'll get back with you. Okay.
So do we need to rearrange the motion then to speak to that? I'm just asking that question.
I just think that our board needs to send a recommendation to them.
Okay.
And from there, that we would like to see a space dedicated, to him, whether it's a space or whether it's in the little showcase that we have there, and I think that would be sufficient.
Okay.
We've never done it, but I think it would be sufficient.
I was just going to say, council, since we haven't voted yet. If the council votes just to do it, I don't know that the motion needs to be restated. What we can do is that we can then draft a letter stating what council action was, and if you would take that to the meeting.
Okay. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think we can move forward with the motion.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, the second one is Miss Nora Parker. Discuss reserving 2 parking spaces.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Obviously, I'm not Nora Parker. I'm here to speak on her behalf. My name is
I was going to say, you forgot your dress.
My name is John Dupree. I've been a citizen of Winterville since 2002. Prior to that, I was in public service as a police officer for the city of Greenville for 4 years. and prior to that, I served the country in the United States Navy for 4 years. I have 2 daughters. They're ages 9 and 14 that are enrolled in Nora Parker's studio, L'Académie de Danse. Forgive me for the don't know if I got that right or not, but I'm here and I have something from her. I don't like to call things petitions. To me, that's a little arrogant. I'm here with a request from over 100 parents, including myself. Most of you know where the dance studio is. It's right across the street. It's a very busy street, especially around rush hour. What Nora has asked for, and I'm asking for along with 100 and some odd parents, is 2 parking spaces that would be for drop-off and pick-up right in front of the dance studio. And Nora has agreed that the flower shop would be able to use it. I think it's Pampered Pooches, or I used to take a dog there. I can't remember the name, but they would be allowed to drop off just 2 spaces right in front of the dance studio. And this is how it reads. You know, we, the undersigned, request 2 parking spaces in front of L'Académie de Danse studio on Railroad Street to be designated as drop-off parking during the hours of 2:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. The parking area will allow the dance students to exit and enter the car safely when being dropped off or picked up from dance. This will also allow traffic to continue to flow on Railroad Street without being blocked by traffic from the studio. My girls have been enrolled with Nora for about 5 years now, and I've, quote, battled that street for a long time, and I can tell you a lot of times, not some friendly, when all the parking spaces are taken, nobody really has a choice but to drop the girls, to stop your car in the middle of the street and drop your girls there. And, you know, I've had some instances where people have come right up to my left side as fast as they can about taking my door off. And, you know, a lot of safety for the girls, and that's what we're looking for, especially in now that it's getting dark early. That's all she's asking for, and I guess this was brought. I'm kind of new. I figured I would speak for her tonight since she's over there teaching the youngins. I think this was brought before the town council in 2016, but like I said, it's not a petition. I guess you could call it that, but it's concerned parents just requestfully asking for 2 drop-off spaces over there.
I was going to ask Travis, and then I want to speak with the chief.
May I ask a question,
Yeah,
Mr. Dupree, first?
Uh-huh.
I'm just taking notes. Drop-off parking between 2:30 and 8?
Yes, ma'am. That's what she has. 2:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Monday through Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to verify that.
And especially because my wife sometimes has to. We have one of my older girl takes class at like 5:30, and it's really busy through there.
I just wanted to make sure I had the.
Yes,
I know we'll get the document, but I wanted to make sure I had my notes.
Yes, ma'am. And I guess I'm supposed to leave this with you.
Okay,
I
thank
guess
you.
I'm kind of new to this, but I wanted to speak on Nora's behalf, and she asked me to. And I have a signature from 109 parents, and she's a growing business over there. She's has a lot of students that are coming from Greenville to take dance over here. It's been a concern of hers for years, I know, and I can see it as a parent. It's been a concern of mine, is the lack of the drop-off. And we're just respectfully asking for 2 spaces to be designated for drop-off, and Nora's already said that she would be more than willing for everybody else to use that, like the flower shop and the pet store and so that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
You got a question?
I was Travis, just asking Travis, what was the status? I remember we was talking about switching that street.
I was going to get asked that question since I saw the agenda. I actually turned in a PO request for the last check, hopefully that we have to cut to CSX today.
Okay.
We have finally gotten approval from them to do the work, and we've got the contracts executed, ready to go with the contractor. We've been dealing with the railroad basically all summer and all fall, and then the last minute they sprung another bill on us, and I argued that to no avail. So today I turned in a PO request. We'll get that check cut ASAP, and after that we should be able to schedule the work and get it completed. completed.
Okay.
Councilman Hines, Travis, will you go over quickly for the audience what we're doing there?
So as part of that project, basically between Depot Street and Main Street, on either side of the tracks, we're converting it to angled parking spaces with one-way traffic. I believe on the fire department side, the traffic will be heading north, and on the dance studio side, the traffic will be heading south, with angled parking against the buildings. And we're also, on the dance studio side, we will be removing a small area of the street and making it handicap accessible to meet regulations with a handicap ramp and handicap spaces there. I don't have the plans with me, but I would have to look and see where they are in relationship to the front door of the dance studio.
Travis, according to our ordinance on page 48, there are 2 spaces already reserved for business that are not there anymore. Do you have a copy of our?
I don't have a copy with me, no, sir.
Yeah, but I have a copy. It's page 48, there are 2 spaces already reserved. 2 businesses that don't exist anymore. 2005 was passed. Now our ordinance is page 48.
What Councilman Moore, when you say page 48
Of our ordinances.
of the ordinance book?
Yes. There are 2 spaces set aside for 2 businesses that are no longer there.
Like
And they're not
drop-off
marked.
spaces with a time limit on.
Time limit, yep. That was passed in
And
2005.
then my other question was for Chief. Yes, our chief.
Police chief?
Yeah, police chief. I'm sorry.
Now, I just want to make sure. I'm struggling tonight for some reason.
I'm struggling too. Chief, as far as the traffic, what is the flow over there? I mean,
I know mostly on our side it's pretty bad, but it would make sense for me, especially in the mornings. Everybody's going to W.H. Robinson for traffic on our side of the building to flow north only, and subsequently it travel south. But it does get a little hectic in those areas in the mornings, and a little less since Marion Vinnie's is not open anymore. That's terrible, but definitely on this side going to W.H. Robinson it's pretty busy.
all right. Now, Travis, let me ask you this question also. On the back side of this building, is that who's that? The alley through there?
That's private.
That's
town
private.
does not have any maintenance
Okay.
responsibility for
All
that.
right. Okay.
It's about between there and the bank.
Yeah, between there and the bank, because does she have a back door there? That's
Yes, sir. I'll comment on that. She asked me to bring that up. Not very conducive to letting children out back there. A lot of drinking going on back there, foul language that she's witnessed, and she does not want any kids coming into the back of that building. For safety reasons, it's not well lit either. You're talking about the back of the studio?
right.
Yes, sir. She just wanted me to mention that. She did not want to try to make that a drop-off back there because some people have been hanging out back there, and it's just not. Little kids don't need to be around that.
Well, shouldn't she talk with the chief about that?
I don't know if she has or not.
Okay.
I'm sure she will.
All right.
Thank you.
If I could, Councilman Moore, I looked up on American Legal. He is correct. In 2005, 2 parking spaces, of course, these spaces are limited to 20 minutes each, on the west side of Railroad in front of Empress's Attic and Winterville Flower Shop. I'm not sure which one was Empress's Attic, but very close. So there are 2 spaces already designated. Again, it's for 20-minute parking, so we'd have to do some rearranging, but I'm not exactly sure where the first business was, but it's got to be beside the Winterville Flower Shop.
And I will say, it wouldn't be 20 minutes.
Sure, there'd have to be an adjustment, right.
Well, John, do you think if we're changing that already to a one-way, traffic's gonna be running south? So, I mean, would 2 spaces be needed if the parents they're already one way? You don't have to worry about opposing traffic, and you're gonna pull up, you're gonna stop, the kids are gonna grab their bag and jump out. What's your thoughts?
Okay, so, direct, let me get my orientation right. It would be running, okay, so it would be running that way.
Right.
Correct.
So there would be parking on just one side of the road, correct?
Correct.
It wouldn't be double horizontal, it would just be on one side. It really depends on how busy the businesses are, because right now you've got parking on both sides. So even though it's one way, you've got a lot of businesses there and you're gonna have less parking. Am I understanding that correctly?
It's pretty close to the net zero. I don't think it might be a couple spaces, but it's.
And I guess we won't know until then, but I guess my question is, when will that happen? We're looking for something. As quickly as we could get it, and then maybe when all that happens, it could be revisited if it needed to be.
We could mark the spaces until that happens and come back and revisit.
That should be happening very soon. As soon as we get the check cut, I'll turn in the PO, get a check cut.
So we have to pay the railroad to talk to us. Okay, they won't respond unless you give them a check. That's
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, but I do think that it would only be fair that we make sure the other business owners know that we're about to make a change prior to doing it. Not that I don't appreciate the dance studio. I think it's a wonderful thing. It looks good, and I'm really glad to see the number of girls that are participating, and boys, if there are any boys too, that are participating in it. But a change of this sort could affect business at the flower shop or at the Pooches or at the little, I know it's not there anymore, but that little restaurant that was on the end. And
I'm not sure if Nora has actually spoke to the flower shop and the pet shop. I believe she has, but I mean, obviously.
I would really like to get, before we made a final decision on it, to make sure that all of the business owners that would be affected, even the bar, Marlins, and the appliance dealer and hair salon, and of course we do have that empty space, and even the trophy shop, because any parking on that side would affect them and their businesses. I would like to make sure that they knew that we were about to make the change before we made.
The challenge is we've already got 2 spaces on the books, which I wasn't aware of until right now, so.
I know, that Emperor's place, I can't remember that, but I'm thinking that if it was there, it was on the other side of the flower shop, maybe.
So there are technically 2 spaces on the books. Obviously, the verbiage that goes along with that would have to be amended. That doesn't take away from notifying the area businesses. And Ben reminded me that in 2016, I think we recommended no longer than 3 minutes, Ben.
That's correct.
So obviously you couldn't park there for any longer than 3 minutes. Obviously a drop-off, pick-up scenario.
So tell me, how are you doing it now? When the kids come there now, are they being dropped off right there in front of the dance studio?
Yes,
They're dropped off, and then actually the traffic coming in behind you has to stop and wait until the kids. So we're holding up the traffic for the ones that are behind you. Yes. And
it all depends on the parking space.
And also, I'm looking at the safety value of it. Also, you're talking about most of the time, unless you're going to have the kids going to get out on the right side, because if you're going south, you're traveling back south, that means that you're going to let them out on the right side. Hope and pray, that's what we're going to do, because what we're speaking of is going to a one-way street. I think that's what you're talking about doing. So if that's the case, that we're going to have traffic going south on both lanes, or just going to be one lane? I'm asking Travis.
There's only going to be one lane.
It's going to be one lane. It's going to be one lane.
It's going to be a wider lane.
Now, when we talking about drop off, are we talking about pulling off to the curbing, to the side, let you park, let the kids off, and then let the ones that is coming up just wait until you let those 2 off, and then we still got traffic back here.
I don't think it's usually the dance studio is probably not a massive.
It's not that much busy.
It's sporadic. I mean, there's a lot of times she doesn't have more than 10 kids in there, probably 10 to 12.
Yes.
But as you were alluding to, a lot of times I'll pull up
And then the traffic behind you have to stop and wait until you.
Sometimes if they stop, and you know how people are with road rage, a lot of times they'll just go right around you and
So that's dangerous.
take your door off. And that's her concern, and it's been my concern because I've been dropping these kids off for 5 years now, and it's just.
My concern is the safety of the kids.
Yes, sir.
Very much so. And if we have to upgrade that bike parking, and that would absolutely help us out on that traffic. I'm talking about upgrade the safety so they can feel comfortable or some other avenue. That would be a plus because I do not want no one to get hurt. And especially our own.
Yes, sir. She like I said, she's got kids. And obviously, we're not going to let a 3-year-old walk in by themselves, but she's got kids aging from 3 years old up to senior citizens in their 80s that are coming up there just to do stretching, and a lot of times they have to walk a long way. They have to park way on down there and walk all the way down the sidewalk just to be able to get in the dance studio.
Well, and my point is I don't want nobody to get hurt in the front nor the back. That's the reason what I'm saying. And to me, the potential is a little bit greater in the front, especially when we go to a one-way.
And traffic now with all the construction down Board Street, of course,
It scares me.
And the Railroad Street being closed too. It's a lot more traffic.
Be a little less hectic and safer for the children is what we were after.
Chief, what do you recommend?
I actually think the one-way street with the angled parking would afford many more opportunities to drop off however long it takes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, than designating 2 lengthwise parking spaces, because now you're talking about how we're going to enforce 2 minutes or 5 minutes. We're going to mark a tire. Hey, they were there longer than 5 minutes. Well, my guys, unless they sit there and time it, it's whatever somebody said. But the one-way deal would afford the whole length of the frontal of the businesses. You know, some are closer than others, but it afford many more opportunities to pull in and drop off. That's my opinion.
Say pull up and drop off in the front. That's what you recommend?
In a parking space.
In a parking space.
I
But
think
he want to quit.
We have parking spaces, but here recently, especially at 5:30, there's just nowhere to park on the street in both directions, and that's where a lot of times I have to stop, or my wife has to stop, or some of these 109 parents have to stop right in the middle of the road to let the child.
Scares me.
I was going to say, I think probably have Travis go back and look at the spots down there to find the 2 spots that's on the books or whatever.
Well, Travis, were we gaining parking or losing parking with this new, do you recall?
You might lose like 1, I can't remember, but it's pretty close to a wash.
Okay.
Right.
One thing to keep in mind is to put in signs under the sidewalk goes all the way to the back curb. You know, we'll have to core that sidewalk, that new sidewalk, put these signs up. This project hopefully is going to get underway quickly. It might be worth waiting until we do the angle parking. If we're going to assign some spaces,
Right.
assign them at the angle parking, not
Prior to.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not that I don't want her to have the spots, but if we're going to be making the change, I don't want to come back to revisit this, you know, because we're going to be making the change, and you know, that's the reason I asked you to come up to talk about the rerouting of that street, and but then when you said there was already, she should have 2 spots there somewhere.
Well,
She should have.
close. I don't know that it's directly in front of the dance studio.
Right.
Studio, it may be slightly down.
Right.
Again, though, it would be interesting to see once the parking is changed, how that then affects.
Right. And then the other thing is talking to the other owners, only other shop owners are in that area, because then you got them that may be saying, hey, I need a drop off.
Well, I do know that area businesses were contacted in 2006, but I don't remember what. I know I don't remember exactly what individual businesses stated as to how they felt.
Okay.
I don't think it was a unanimous
Right.
consensus that it was something that everyone wanted.
Do you think making all those spaces, say 30-minute parking, would make a difference? All right. You know, in Greenville, you got 30-minute parking, you got 2-hour parking. You know, if they were limited in time, maybe there would be spaces open for the parents, you know, if, you know, along there. I don't know any business, well, the only thing, the hairdresser, that would take a longer time or whatever, but they're back towards this end. Maybe making the businesses right there in that area, say from the corner to to the dance studio. 30-minute parking.
Go back to what the chief said. You know, if you got people that go in the bar, they're going to have to know when their 30 minutes is up, and they're going to have to go get in their car and leave.
Especially if we have a new restaurant taking place with Vinnie Mary.
Most of them park in the back. There ain't many of them parking out front.
Well, which I think may speak to some of the concerns about coming in the back.
It's like I have to go pick my deal up at 9 o'clock.
I mean, I'm sure there's some, but a lot of that late afternoon, they're parking in First Citizens and they're parking behind back there. I only know because my office sits there. I see them walking in and out.
Where are we?
I think staff certainly will do what council directs.
Like I said, my concern is safety on both the front and the back. I can see us controlling the back a little bit better.
I don't think that's public.
Right.
I don't think that's a public thoroughfare, so I don't think we have any. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't see Chief. Will Height.
Well, they have a portion of it, right?
I'm sorry.
We don't have any traffic enforcement capabilities.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So we do not have any.
It's going to take at least 6 months for this project, and winter's coming. So let's mark those original spaces as the ordinance says until it's done. How long would it take to do that?
To mark those spaces, not very long.
See, just mark those spaces.
It depends how we mark them. I mean, it's not something we can do tomorrow. I might have to order signs.
But it won't take 6 months.
But
I mean, it's a fairly.
How about you could paint it on there though? We could paint it because we've got the signs all over town that are not legal anyway. You don't have parallel parking. It's not for handicap. We do it anyway, but we know it's not the law.
Painting and curb will not suffice for enforcement.
But it will help. It help. Especially during wintertime coming up. Suppose somebody got hit December, January, February because we have not done something now.
What we got there, John, is a dilemma that we have talked about at least 10 times in the last 10 years. And I don't know that we have a good answer for it. 2 spaces, I hope that works. I'm willing to do it. But I'm not so sure that's going to be your answer. I mean, if you've got that many parents dropping kids off, now you got to wait for somebody to back out, pull in, drop off, back out. You know, the ideal, a drop-off lane would be great. But I don't know that we have the room for a drop-off
There's a lot
lane.
of parents, but she has a lot of classes. Most of her classes, like the one my daughter's in tonight, have 8 girls in it. There's not, and this time of night, we wouldn't be asking for it after 8 o'clock anyway. Most of her classes are not 20 and 30 people where they all come at one time. She staggers the classes. So if the parents understand what Nora's after, and they do, by signing this, you know, everyone, I think they would adhere to it, and I really don't think it would be a problem. But it's a bigger problem right now with us having to stop in the middle of the road and let kids out. And that's.
Well, I'm all for trying the 2 parking spaces.
We'll evaluate the best way to get those things enforcement capable.
I just would like the other people to know what we're doing. I really would.
I think we can send out specific communications to the businesses along in that area to inform them. please. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming.
Now, I was going to ask him, what did you planning on using the 2 spaces that if we allow that to happen, you are going to use those 2 then, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to let the kids get out right
Yes,
there?
sir. We'll just pull right in, and that will be right by her door, so they can just hop right out, we'll be right out.
Safety point, let them be on the right side, ready to get out.
Yes, sir, so they get right out on the sidewalk, and you walk right in the dance studio,
It-
and we'll be right out of the parking spot.
It could be slightly up from the dance studio store.
That's fine.
I mean,
So
door.
Just somewhere
Okay.
where we can get over and just get our kids out. Where
Sure.
we can.
Okay.
And I really believe it would help traffic through there, because sometimes if you've got parents stopping, you've got 2 or 3 behind them, you know, people.
And then they're gonna back up at a stop sign that's there too.
Sir?
They're gonna back up at that stop
Yes,
sign there
Lord.
too.
Yeah, if they don't run the one that's down there first, and then come up behind us, so. Unfortunately, so.
Okay. That's about, like you said, that's.
We'll also get in touch with Ms. Parker with an official response from the town so that we can, I know you're capable of telling her what happened, but there was a lot of discussion, so she'll understand what's happening.
Okay, so basically you're looking into it and the 2.
We're gonna go ahead and address the 2 parking spaces. We'll identify those. Soon as we sort of have a time frame for when those become official, we'll definitely reach out and let her know what's happening.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
I got a question though. Now, there are 2 spaces devoted to the flower shop. The flower shop is still there.
Correct.
So would that mean that we would have 4 spaces?
They're actually gonna be shared between the flower shop and, let's just say if we
The
designate
dance
the dance
studio.
studio.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But the flower shop's bulk of their business is gonna be probably prior to when the dance studio needs them, so
Yeah.
we'll see how
I'm
it
just
works.
trying to make sure I understand.
And once we identify them and whatnot, we'll
Right.
let everybody know where they are, so everybody's sort of working off the same page. And can I interject something?
Yes.
It's bothering me and I need to say it.
Sure.
I forgot to say that we have an GIS and inspections department, Councilman Moy, that has 2 employees in it. You're asking for a number of
That's right.
employees.
Yes.
Ben, you're not alone. I forgot them. Our GIS and inspections and GIS department, 2 employees, and then I need to add 1 to admin, Kim Moore from the operations center.
Yes.
So
That's right.
that was bothering me. I apologize. It has been a day. Thank you.
Okay, item number 9 is the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. Item number 10, old business, approval of a contract with lowest responsible bidder for the cleaning and inspections of sewer mains. Thought we got a new truck to do that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council again. So this is actually part of the grant money, the grant / 0% interest loan that we got with the sewer evaluation. This is the phase 2 of that, where we'll have a contractor clean and camera approximately 16,000 feet of sewer main and evaluate it for leaks. The new truck would be capable of cleaning the line, but we don't have the staff availability to do it on a consistent basis. We have a deadline to meet to receive that funding, and we would have to put our guys on it nonstop. We wouldn't be able to look after all the other stuff that we have going on. In addition, they're not just cleaning the line, they're also cameraing it and recording that video. And these guys are professionals. They're trained. There's actually certifications in camera and sewer mains, and they're certified. They'll do it, prepare video for the engineer to review, identify issues, bellies, leaks, things like that. And I'm actually going to call Blaine Humphrey with Rivers and Associates up if you got any questions for him. We did an informal bid process. We sent it out to four local contractors who perform this type of work and have performed this work for the engineer in the past and done a good job. We received 2 bids and 2 no quotes. The lowest bidder was Tri-State Utilities, and their bid was approximately $58,000. we have budgeted 53,000 in the cost estimate, but we're under budget in engineering fees, so that money can be shifted over to cover that $5,000 overage. And we're more than 5,000 under in engineering, so we've got more than enough to cover that.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is. Excuse me. The next is capital project fund ordinance for sewer system rehab.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As you know, the town is embarked on a large sewer project. But what you have before you tonight is the budget ordinance for that project. The funding coming from North Carolina Department of Environment, Natural Resources. Some people know it, DENR. So that's the. I'm looking for the exact number here. I apologize. I lost my page walking up. $2 million. This is a very large agenda.
It is a large agenda.
Yes, it is.
308 pages.
I told Ben today it was over 300 pages.
Excuse me, 3.6 million. The 2 million was the last one we did.
3.6, Anthony, is that?
3.6 million.
Okay. Thank you. I couldn't remember either.
From DENR. That's not bad. It's your salary for the year.
It's the low interest loan that the town obtained, basically rehabbing large portion of the town's sewer system. It's a multi-phase project, and it starts with the Cameron, and then it goes from there.
Just looking for approval.
Motion
Just
to
approval of
approve.
the ordinance.
Second.
The ordinance is based on the contract and the amount that was submitted in the application.
First, Mark.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
I apologize for not being able to find that page, I'm sorry.
I'm struggling.
Okay. Item number 3 is approval of a contract with DRC Emergency Services. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna move my chair up here probably. This is another contract. Anthony, the finance department bid out debris removal services prior to Hurricane Florence. We wanted to be prepared. You know, we had a pretty dire forecast at one point there. It turned out to not be as bad for Winterville, much worse for people a little bit south and east of us. But our current contractor series, our contract with them just recently expired, so we needed to rebid those services. These services are for a natural disaster or a man-made event. If we have a lot of debris in town, where it's vegetative, construction debris, furniture, belongings, something that the town staff can't handle in-house, we would then contract with DRC to come in and remove that stuff. This is just basically a contract saying we're going to utilize them. It's not there's no monetary amount, because that would be established if there was an event.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. One more contract for you tonight. This is with Charles Hughes Construction for the 2018 Sidewalk Improvements Project. There's 3 sections of town that we're working in for this sidewalk project. The first section is downtown around the driving school, Wimpy's, Mill Street down to Cooper Street, and also the Dixie Queen parking lot, the last little extension of what we did in the One Piece parking lot a few years ago up to Cooper Street. New decorative sidewalk to match what we did across the street here last year, 2 years ago. It'll match that. new handicap ramps, etc. The second phase is new sidewalk along Laurie Ellis Road from roughly Mellon Downs to Ain Street and north of Ain Street towards the park. Will terminate at the end of Cooper Point Section 8. So I believe there's roughly 10 houses there that will go up Ain Street. It will not go all the way to Windmill. We don't have easements to go that far, but it'll be a good start on that area there. The last section is on Windmill, Crescent Drive, and the Coopers Point subdivision. There were some complaints regarding damaged sidewalk in there, and so in order to save money, and you know, a project like that's probably outside of the capability of staff levels, we bid that out as part of this project. Staff went out there and investigated the sidewalk, identified all the areas that needed repair. The engineer drew up the map included with this project. We're going to remove and replace the damaged sidewalks there.
Will there be decorative downtown light on this side?
We were going to match exactly, the plans call for an exact match.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
Yes. Do we have any other streets that you know of that do not have sidewalks in our town?
The majority of the streets in town probably don't have sidewalks.
Majority.
The only subdivisions or streets that have sidewalks are going to be
The new
Main
one.
Street, and then the newer subdivisions. I'm going to assume that the town updated the subdivision ordinance in the past 20 years and started requiring sidewalks. But anything built prior to, I'm going to say 10 to 15 years ago, does not have sidewalks.
And I think the reason why I asked that, are we going to start investing into areas that do not have sidewalk at all?
Yes, sir. And I think this is a lot more of repair work. But you know, Laurie Ellis doesn't have any sidewalks, and
That's the plus.
That was another complaint-driven thing. Folks in Mellon Downs and Laurie Meadows had complained that they don't have access to the park and they want to get there.
But yes, to answer your question, we're looking at major thoroughfares, Mill Street, other places to install sidewalks where they're particularly
Boyd Street,
yes, and Boyd,
we're getting sidewalks
Yes.
there.
where there's a lot of foot traffic.
Old Tar Road, all
Mill's
those
got
through
most
town.
traffic though. Mill Street.
Yes, sir.
Most
And
of the
we,
streets don't have any.
we've got that in the hopper. We're still working on that, trying to get some funding, I believe, for that.
Yes.
And you say, Mayor, I think your street, right?
I say Cooper Street, majority of it's not.
It don't have it either.
The only sidewalk on Cooper that I'm aware of is Academy down towards Church.
Right.
And that little area, you know, from there down to the railroad tracks. That little section that we just replaced. I mean, that's
That
it.
was probably put there by the property owner.
That would be a great project for us in our town. You start looking at, you know.
We receive Powell bill funding every year.
Yes.
We can spend it on sidewalks or streets.
We have our walkable Winterville plan, pedestrian plan, and so again, that's something that we've been working on. We do have Powell bill funding, but as our streets have had a substantial need,
Right.
that's where we've been focusing, and I think we are trying to implement our street focus with some sidewalks. So
Yes.
we anticipate that will definitely continue.
And I think we getting very close to completing that task, especially to the ones that really need some upgrade. I'm talking about the
Yes.
streets. And now that we can start looking at upgrading the infrastructure of the sidewalks inside of town.
Well, just to
Pray for no more Januaries like last January.
absolutely.
That killed us
Stuff.
financially.
Yes.
And we're still paying for that. We'll be paying for that for years to come. There's roads that
Absolutely.
are just
That one
in terrible
cold,
shape.
those days frozen, killed our roads.
Well, and just to remind council, we were not able to complete all of the road work that we had planned because we ran into some substantial issues on some of the roads that we were working on. So obviously, you're going to see budgetary effects of that in this coming budget.
When
And
are you going?
I've said this many times before. That Powell bill money is only about $250,000
Yeah.
a year, and that's a drop in the bucket of what we need just for the streets. That's not even including sidewalks. I mean, this sidewalk project was budgeted at approximately $215,000, I believe, is what I had in the budget. We got very lucky, and even with the additional stuff in Magnolia Ridge and on Main Street, it's only $160,000. We came in way under budget. It was nice to do that for a change. but it's still a lot of money. And
Anthony, how much do we have left into our power bill? How much is left? Yes. That's okay.
it's not as much as we had when I started here because we have been spending it, and that's what we get it for, and it needs to be spent.
That's
It was
right.
$1 million at one time. It was $1 million at one time.
Okay.
Well, and once that fund balance is down to more of what we're seeing on an annual basis, then obviously the scope of what we're able to do annually is going to shrink because we won't have that fund balance to supplement it with. So we're doing good things with it, but it's not going to last forever.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. We've got, Mayor, we did vote on that.
No, not yet.
No, we had it. We had a
Not
motion
yet.
and a second,
I think we had a motion and a
but
second.
no vote.
We did have a motion?
We did.
Yes.
Councilman
Okay.
Moore and
All in
Councilman.
any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on down, item number 11, on a new business, proposed traffic common measures, Sylvania Street.
Good evening again, Mayor and members of the board. So any of you who have visited the rec park during fall and spring program seasons probably see this reference. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. Area of Sylvania Street and the traffic upon it. It's heavily trafficked, and in the fall and spring sports seasons, we're using A.G. Cox softball field for any number of activities, soccer, baseball, practices, what have you. Of course, over the years, we've gotten different complaints or constructive criticism, I'll call it, about the traffic on that section specifically in discussion of Sylvania Street. Staff looked at it to try to think about what we could do to address some of the traffic concerns on that street. So what you see is the red lines on there are portable speed bumps, and I want to make sure that we understand that they are portable speed bumps, and I'll come back to that here in a second. And then some no parking areas. One of them is in existence, and then 3 of them will be additional. The reason that I wanted to highlight the fact that those are portable speed bumps is that the intention with your approval would be to put them down during scheduled game nights, before games, and then remove them after so they're not hindering any school traffic or anything like that taking place. We're simply putting them down in those locations to calm traffic on that heavily traveled portion of Sylvania Street, especially to assist people crossing back and forth so that people are paying a little bit more attention and not traveling at high rates of speed on that specific section. The no parking, that's really to try to funnel people in specific areas. It's kind of hard to tell, but there is a gate.
I don't see any traffic markings for crossings. It'd be nice to have those.
So there's no curb cuts or anything existing right now on there. So we didn't go the crosswalk. You also don't have any sidewalk access beyond the curb at either of those locations. And of course some of that.
Well, Evan,
But anyway.
To me, an even bigger problem is the parking that we allow on both sides of the road. I haven't had an issue with people going fast. I'm sure you have. You're out there even more than me. But to me, the issue is trying to get through there.
That's right.
Because we've got traffic parked on both sides, and I've had to stop and let cars come through so I can get my big old truck through there.
Same thing.
And to me, that's seems to be a larger issue than the speed through there.
That's what I was going to say. The same thing Councilman Smith was saying, because same here. The big old truck that I drive, I have to stop and let another car pass through. Wouldn't it be better if where you got the no parking on the yellow up there, if it went all the way down between, all the way back to, what is it, Cooper, was it down there? Was it the street down there?
Ainge.
If it go all the way down to Ainge, you know, no parking between such and such hour, you know, and all the traffic zone coming east, park on the east side instead of the west side, you know.
And we had considered that. The only reason we didn't propose it for this is because you're going to lose a fairly significant number of parking spaces by doing so.
Yeah, that's going to be my next comment.
And parking is already
at a premium.
Well, but to go again, you know, like Mr. Moore said, I'd rather lose the parking than lose somebody getting hit.
Sure.
Because people are darting out between cars.
Right.
I mean, if we move it down a little bit further, they might have to walk a little bit further. I mean, you know.
And that was the intent. That was another intention, added intention rather, of those no parking zones that you see in blue up there, which was give people that are going to cross a little bit better field of vision rather than poking their head out into the street between cars to see where they're going.
And you have so many older people like me. Parking is important close to the facility. As you get older, and there are a lot of grandparents out there want to sit as children. And I've been going out there for 50 years to see people play, and I agree. You probably got the best idea. Slow it down, but Mr. Smith, Councilor Smith is correct about parking, but you got a pretty good idea there.
I do agree that we need a crosswalk.
Yep.
Painted through there.
But the street is so narrow, still, that's just.
It is. I won't disagree with
Yeah,
it.
it's just, to me, I think it's controlled parking, basically, between where that ball field is, up there to the fence where you go into A.G. Cox, little fence where you walk through. If you keep one side clear, I mean, you might have to walk a little bit, but, I mean, you know, we got handicap parks over here. You might need to identify some more. Cross over here where the Smith Field is, whatever we call it over here.
So that section from this section right here is roughly 315 feet.
Right.
So if you're going to say a car length is 10 feet, you're talking about 30 spaces.
How about make it angle parking? Go into the grass all the way up to the fence. Angle parking.
You're talking about.
I don't think you got enough room there.
Yeah, because then you're right on the sidewalk right here.
The fence is already about 2 feet from the
There's a
curb.
fence right on the road.
You've got maybe a foot up down most of the run there.
I was talking about on the A.G. Cox side.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got this run right here. You have
That's
the
it.
fence.
That's the fence.
And there's probably a foot in most places, and it gets wider as you head toward Ainge. But there's probably a foot most of the width between the curb and the fence.
It's the only school in Pitt County has no parking on campus. And our forefathers, we had a chance to buy the land, where those strip of houses are along, the other side. They didn't buy. For $35,000, we could have had all that area. But we had no representation on the school board. And we lost that $35,000 parking area. 38 schools in Pitt County, only one.
Well, eventually the maintenance department is going to be moving, so there may be some opportunities for us to pick up some of that space down there in the next 2 years or so.
But in the meantime, you're speaking of placing speed bumps. Portable
speed bumps.
Portable speed bumps, right there where you got the red markers at, right?
Yes, sir. Which is 6 speed bumps total, 3 sets, however you want to refer to them. They're roughly 10-foot speed bumps.
And you're going to be held responsible for placing them down and taking them up.
Yes, sir. Staff will put them out before games and remove them after games.
And they're going to control your speed or slow your traffic.
As much as you can hope that speed bumps will, yes, sir. Yes.
Maybe a legal question: who's going to pay for my front end alignment?
Well, you got.
I'm asking that question because someone comes here want to know who's going to pay for my front end alignment.
Our answer is going to be not the town.
Okay, I'm just asking that question.
We've already had that question.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to go along with Evan's recommendation, except for I'd like to add to it crosswalk painted, even though we have a curve. I like your idea of slow people down.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you wanted there, other than the speed bumps and the markings where the gate is?
In all honesty, when we first were looking at it, you have all these ideas running through your head. Ben and Terry, you can certainly chime in if you disagree with me, but we wanted to try to calm the traffic without having an overly adverse effect on the area, because for example, we thought as crazy as, hey, close it down during games, but again, you create a pretty significant traffic issue if you went that extreme. This is the recommendation that we came with that we felt would calm the traffic without having the adverse effect on the traffic going through that area. Not to say that there aren't additional options, sure.
The cost different. It's not that much different if you put down portable to permanent.
I'm not sure what the permanent speed bump costs are. I'd have to refer to Chief or Travis to see if they could give you a roundabout. But for these, it's relatively inexpensive, about $1,300.
There's a lot of buses that go through there too. I think you being able to put them down before
and then take them back up
is probably the way to go on that street.
I don't think we would, at this juncture, want to recommend permanent speed bumps.
Okay.
Just due to the volume of traffic in the mornings and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you don't have the same problem during, games or
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we accept his
He already got a
recommendation.
motion.
You already got it?
Yeah.
I like to
And there has been a
comment.
second?
We're talking about those speed bumps. Are we going to, how are we going to make sure people that realize that there are speed bumps there and they don't go across and tear up their cars like mine is been torn up for 2 weeks because of bumps like this,
But
if it's permanent, that's one thing because and I know that we don't want permanent, but permanent speed bumps, where they are. You see all the signage, and everything about them. But temporary, portable ones, you're not going to have.
Aren't they yellow?
Yes, sir. They're black and yellow. Yeah. And they do have high vis markings on them as well, if memory serves me correctly.
When these are used, there'll be a high volume time of traffic. That's the reason. High volume traffic time.
Correct. And the speed limit on that road, if memory serves me correctly, is 20, I believe.
It's 20.
We could also investigate some temporary signage to erect when those are out for oncoming traffic down the way.
I'm concerned about
on either side of
the fact that people seeing them and tearing up the cars.
Well, if they don't see the speed bump, they're not going to see a kid.
Well, again, because you're going to have, for me, I don't disagree with speed bumps or anything, but again, to me, we need to look at, because we just had that situation about the dance school, letting people out. And that time, you got traffic on both sides, people opening their doors in the traffic, kids getting out in traffic. Where you slow it down, people still getting out in traffic.
Sure.
I like the idea of changing some of the patterns there as far as parking and that kind of thing. I think that would be something.
Because right there in front of that ball field, I still think it needs to be clear right there on one side.
Well, anytime you have on-street parking, certainly that could be certainly could be a risk. So I don't think you're going to completely avoid that regardless of what route you went, unless you just didn't allow parking on either side of the street. Which I
can see one side. I can see one side, that time limit because you got games going on, and and you're conscious of people getting out on one side versus people getting out on both sides. Even though you got speed bumps, you still got that risk of people stepping out in front of you.
My main concern with that, in all honesty, would be people probably trying to park up and down on Ain Street, which is then a 30-mile-an-hour zone. That would be my main concern with that, would be you're losing parking on one side, where they're going to go as a result. Because, let's say, and now baseball's done, but, 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night, we've got soccer, baseball, tackle football, flag football, whatever going on at the same time. It's...
Senator Pate promised us this this fall that he would have it curb and guttered from Ain Street all the way down to the park. Has anybody raised that question? He told us he would have it done. Our last conversation. Where's our money? Where's our curb and gutter? He said he promised us that he would do it all the way down to the park, and that would help with the problem. And the curb and gutter would be tile on the Ain Street part, and you could have your angle parking, and that would solve your problem. If you put the curb and gutter down Ain Street, like he said.
You're talking about, yeah, on street, on
Right,
the north side of
right.
the
He
sidewalk.
promises that. If we write him a letter asking him, that won't help you now, of course, you know. He didn't represent us anymore, but fulfill his promise. He didn't promise us to pave the road. He promised it would be done in the fall. We got Boyd Street from Representative Murphy, and we'll get in the curb and gutter on the Ain Street Road from Senator Pate.
You said we got what?
Senator Pate promised us curb and gutter on Ain Street.
Boyd Street.
No, that's Murphy. Murphy got the Boyd Street.
I wouldn't say that. I would not give him credit for that.
Yeah, Pate.
I know our mayor and our representatives on that committee did a lot of negotiating for Boyd Street. Boyd Street was on the list, but because of their representation, it moved up the list. That what's
MPO, the TA.
MPO. Who else was up there with you, Mayor? But I know that they did a lot of work for that. I will not sit here and allow Murphy to get credit for that because he may have joined us.
Right, he joined.
But as far as advocating for that, this board advocated on its own to get that street fixed, and that's another subject.
So the resolution was for Ain Street. We as a town board did a resolution to all our representatives to curb and gutter behind A.G. Cox.
Call for the question.
Yeah, I've already made the motion.
Yeah, I think a motion has been made.
I don't like the speed bumps, but if that's what you feel like we'll do it, it's fine with me. I'm not up there at the ball games. I really don't know what it's like being up there at that time. I thought maybe, I like the idea of the no parking too. On one side of the street, I thought that might help.
I believe there's a need. If it's not, you wouldn't be addressing it. I do believe that you have seen something, and you're trying to react before something actually does happen. I think what you're trying to do now is at least you are trying. I would say, I think a motion has been made.
I don't think we have a second though.
You got a second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Before, Mayor and Council, I just want to mention, we'll check into the actual crosswalk itself. We'll need to double check some legalities with respect to how that can be done, but yes, I just wanted to mention that.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We'll do the vote again. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 2 is the Mary Beth McLaughlin final plat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So this is a final plat for Mary Beth McLaughlin. This is a minor subdivision. Just for informational purposes, all minor subdivisions are 5 lots or less with no road right-of-way dedication. So this is just a proposed 1 lot. Size is going to be 1 acre. This is out on Reedy Branch Road, south of this intersection with 903. Current zoning is AR. Planning and zoning did unanimously recommend approval of this final plat. So you see this is Summer Winds and Magnolia Ridge. So the site is right there on the opposite side. So Copper Creek right here, Highway 11, that intersection there. And then just this will be the actual site right here.
Is that Reedy Branch Road?
Reedy Branch Road would be right here, yes, sir. So this is the entrance to Summer Winds subdivision. There's the plot. So the one thing of note would be the back side of this along that ditch. So that was shown on this Pitt County Soil Survey as a buffered stream, but they have since got the Washington Regional Office to go out and exempt that feature, so it's not subject to any buffer rules. But that was really the only item of note on this site.
Move for approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion?
Who's taking that second?
Whoever you want to give it to.
Mark.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 is Town of Winterville State Temporary Electric Territory Expansion Design and Engineering. I can't talk either.
Well, you're in good company. I have a problem myself sometimes.
Sure.
As you're aware, the town of Winterville and Greenville Utilities have reached an agreement that allows the town of Winterville to serve new areas exclusively in order to build the system, to serve these systems, and build a degree of redundancy in. If one component fails, another can pick up the slack, so to speak. That the expansion will need to be engineered properly, taking into account everything from the size of the wire to the substations, to the proper width of easements, maintaining those easements. It all has to be designed carefully. This is something that will impact our town for many, many years. We have advertised. We got one response. It is from the engineer that has served our town in the past. We're very familiar with them. Staff does believe they can do the job. And, we're recommending you give us permission to enter contract negotiations.
What's the name of the company?
Power Services.
Power Services. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have the next one as well. It is similar. We're going to be requesting permission to enter into contract negotiations with the same firm we also advertised for. This is for the Toll Road widening project and the associated utility relocation that's required.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second for, I didn't hear a second, I think.
Yes, second.
Approval. This widening project, if I remember right, is supposedly going to be in 2021.
It is, last I heard, I am not sure as of today, however. Maybe.
I can't see Mr. Williams, but I don't know if he,
Right-of-way acquisition is in 19, but we'll finish that up again. 20, late 20, early 21 is construction.
I will tell you that our engineering staff believes a good bit of this work will be reimbursable.
Any further? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
All right, let's take her home. Next up. Staff, we have also advertised during our investigations of public buildings, but we noted some deficiencies. These deficiencies include lack of a code compliant fire suppression system, and of all places, our fire department bays. It's in no way, reflective of anything current staff has done. It was just something that the architects somehow managed to allow to elude them. I think there was some conversation and some interpretation of existing codes and what was the proper approach. What we are confident in is that today's existing codes require that those fire bays to be sprinklered. While we were reviewing our buildings, we also noted the electric department required a similar fire suppression or fire barrier. And the last item that we're looking at, we're lumping them all together, is some steps for the rear approach to Town Hall instead of what we have right now, which we've already had one employee slide on. And we'd like to make sure that doesn't happen again. We have advertised for this work. We received one bid from McLaughlin Engineering. We are somewhat familiar with him. He has helped us develop some budgets in the past. I think he's helped Chief Moore some of his building improvement projects at the fire department. With all that said, funds are sufficiently available, we believe, in our current budget. We're asking for permission to enter into contract negotiations for the design, bid, and construction administration of these 3 projects.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, item 12 are the other agenda items. Hearing none, item number 13 is future agendas. Okay. Item number 14 is report from the department head.
Before you go on, I would like for our staff to start conversations with the property owners in and around the depot as to the location of a multi-purpose building. I think we were saying, I always get it wrong, 6 acres, 7 acres, 8 acres, what it was.
I think we're leaving that up in the air.
Yeah.
Site for the multi-purpose, I think we need about 20.
Well.
Ish to, you know, for parking, stormwater, growth, the facility, buffers, landscaping, all that stuff. You can start.
I don't know how much space is available in and around it, but
more than you think.
But anyway, to start a conversation with the property owners to see if we could negotiate a purchase or whatever, but to start a conversation about acquiring land for a multipurpose building.
Got it.
I need to make a motion.
Informally, yes, it's good to have the motion, but formally we have asked, and the daughter who's now is an attorney has not responded, even when Abbott said, it's good, I second your motion.
Okay.
That we communicate with the family with a letter.
Yeah, all the property owners out there that that's adjoining, but there's some other property owners out there,
right?
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we can engage those property owners to gauge their interest and
Yeah,
their
see if,
willingness.
yeah.
Mayor, I think we have a motion and a
motion.
second
We have a motion and a second that we contact the property
to
owners.
instruct staff to make contact.
Purchase property for multi-purpose facility.
Right.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Williams.
All right, I'll go ahead and cross that one off the list. The
Oh, yes, it's on
multi-purpose.
our list. Multi-purpose.
Since we're right.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and knock that one out. Check that one off.
Well, everybody says you can't make a plan without the land. So.
That's right. That's right.
It helps that
It
way.
sure does help
Absolutely.
to have the canvas before you start putting paint on it. Regional sewer pump station project, we are getting close to wrapping that up. We've had some progress meetings on that. If you've noticed, the construction has ended for the most part on Cooper Street. There's some testing of those lines that has to occur. The force main's been tied in over at Ainge and Laurie Ellis. The pump station's in. They're just over there on Bayberry tearing up that road that we just kind of got fixed and reopened, but different project. So they're laying that gravity line. They're going to abandon the pump station over there. We're going to hopefully be wrapping that thing up, and certainly by Christmas time, but the majority of it's going to be paperwork, administrative work on that project. Chapman Street culvert, the engineer submitted 60% plans. We've been reviewing those, have a meeting with them to discuss easement needs over there, identifying those property owners. We're going to begin engaging folks on discussion of easement acquisition as well. The SRF 8 application, the sewer rehab project that was on an item on the agenda this evening for the cleaning and camera work, in order to get that report, in order for the engineer to prepare the environmental report and the engineering document to be submitted to the state for a milestone, and then to receive approval on that. So we're moving right along with that project. I'm going to skip down. The Market Town Common plan, our consultant has done very well, provided some schematic. We've been talking with them on what they've come up, ideas over there. They're have it back in their office, working on something that can be presented to council as what we've come up with between staff and the consultant.
Can I ask board interest about, you know, they dedicated the chessboard in Greenville. I mean, is there any interest here for that kind of a place out in our market area? Behind the library. You know, the checkers.
They installed in front of the library downtown a large two-set chess board and figurines, I guess, pieces that are inside. We could certainly entertain and see if there's space for something like that.
I just thought that would be a good place for it behind the library, like it is in Greenville. It was private donations that built it. That's the way it was built. I don't, outside of maybe something from the city, some work, some labor.
Certainly the installation, then the checking in, the hauling in and out of those pieces daily and keeping those.
They check them out through the library. Right. It's a big bin outside.
So certainly you probably want that board close to the building. So.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
Resurfacing the first phase, like the crack filling and everything out there at Hillcrest Basketball Park has been taken care of. The final coat will be applied in the near future as weather allows, so that's rocking and rolling. The main parks playground has been completed, is open to the public. Y'all go over there, climb on it, and slide down it if you want to. We're in the process. They have demolished Hillcrest Park, taking out the old mulch, and we'll be working on that in the coming weeks. Fork Swamp Greenway project, that's still in the hands of the consultant. They're working on the delineations and some preliminary corridor alignments. So we're waiting to hear back from them on the status report. We'll jump back up. I will actually let Mr. Jones discuss the land use plan status. The minimum housing code, if you recall, one of the homes was acquired, and so they're looking at moving forward on doing that one. Our inspector is still in his boot, is not able to get out and really do some field work. That boot will be coming off, and he'll be getting out and doing a little more leg work, footwork, if you will, and that will be something that's on his target list, is working on that next upcoming round for minimum housing effort.
When is the schedule for Board Street complete? I thought that it was scheduled to be completed by, was it September?
4 months. 4 months.
It was September. They did not give us a year, though.
No. And I do know, and I understand it is a state.
So it is a state road. It has one contractor that has a sub that then has one doing water and sewer, one doing storm water. Then you get the guys coming back.
They work 1 day a week.
It's so I will let.
We have, because the residents there is they got the antennas up.
They've been very patient. We have thanked them over and over about their patience and understanding. However, I would have no reason to disagree with them if their patience was wearing thin and their.
Yes.
So we've had some issues, and we brought those issues to DOT's awareness, and hopefully we can kind of start moving things forward. But the western side is further along than the eastern portion.
Yes.
This weather's going to be an issue, but I'll let Travis talk as far as to the schedule on that.
As Ben said, we don't really have any authority out there to
I know that.
ask them to hurry up. In speaking with the DOT engineer, met on site last week, about some issues, and the goal is, per the DOT, for them to be done with the stuff on the west side of Mill Street by Thanksgiving. That's not gonna happen.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, you talking about 2019.
Thanksgiving next year?
I'm
sorry,
expressed
no.
my doubt at the time when she said that, and sincerely agree with all of you that that's not going to happen.
Hey, Mike.
So maybe by Christmas they'll be
That's
done
gonna
with
be
that
the
side. They're
American
laying the storm
Thanksgiving.
drain.
Okay, go ahead.
They're laying the storm drain, and they are getting close to being done with the storm drain on that side of Mill Street. And if it wouldn't get so wet, the grading work will go much quicker if the contractor wants it to. They're capable of doing that work much quicker than the underground utilities. So hopefully, I'm going to say by Christmas, the west side of Mill Street is done. And,
What about the east?
The east side, I'm going to say, she said February or March. I'm going to say March or April.
March, April.
June.
You know, we're getting, as everybody knows, we're getting into the wet time of the year. I was talking with a developer this morning. I mean, it's wet, right? It poured down rain this morning. Temperatures are getting cold. The sun's only up for a few hours a day. We got more rain coming Thursday. It's just soaking wet. The ground's soaking wet. It's hard to work under those conditions. You got holidays coming up, asphalt plants shutting down. You know, they're struggling to complete the utilities in the second phase. Having to relay some sewer. I'm hoping by the end of this week they've got that sewer relayed, and then they can go back to trying to do the water main tie-ins. The water main is installed with the exception of the tie-ins to the side streets at Myrtle Lane, Persons, and then at Railroad Street. So there'll be some short duration outages to customers in that areas. Of course, we always notify them beforehand when we do those tie-ins. But once they get the water and sewer tied in, the rest of the stuff is going to be storm drain and actual streets and curb and gutter and sidewalks. And that's all. We're really not involved at that point.
So Christmas in April or May, somewhere along.
Let's say summer.
By the summer, okay.
What about L'Oreal extension?
They started paving last week.
That looks pretty close to being done there, but
They could finish pretty quick, I think, if they want to. I don't know what they have left on the highway end, but as far as paving from Mill Street out to the highway, they could finish that pretty quickly.
They could, but
well, I think
we're
they
not
got a lot on
anticipating.
11 that they've got to do. Aren't they
Yeah.
going to do what they did similar to Henry Hand? Isn't that going to be similar?
I'm not sure. There's going to be some turnarounds they've got to do. And I did talk with the DOT about that the same day, and she said they've got some stuff on Highway 11 to do. She didn't give a timeline.
I doubt that's going to be finished until next year.
There was some telecommunication utilities over there that they had to navigate around to delay the project.
DOT shut everybody down with the hurricane for like 2 weeks, I think.
Well, I'm assuming they're not going to open that road up until everything on 11 is complete.
That would be my guess, that they're not, because then it's going to just, if they open that road up prematurely, it's going to be harder and take longer for the contractor to finish.
And one other thing, and I know we don't have nothing to do with this, but at Pitt Community College, those kids is crossing the street, that 4-lane, 5-lane, to go over to Chick-fil-A. I saw one going in between the media. It is dangerous. We have been, let me finish. We have been blessed behind that. Nobody have not gotten killed crossing over. I think that we addressed this, 2 or 3 years ago.
I think Ben's going to tell you about a project.
Oh, we got a project. Let me hush then. I want to hear the project.
I wasn't saying to hush. I just
Yes, ma'am. But we got a project. We got a plan. I want to hear it because I witnessed something today. I mean, I was just like this right here. Please don't go. Please, you stay right there where you're at.
There will be some pedestrian intersection improvements done at the Burger King end down there.
All the way down?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that will allow folks to get across and come down. Now, you're going to have to abide by and go to that location. They can still cross mid-block, if they choose, but there will be some improvements at the intersection for pedestrians to cross.
That'd
That
be at the
project was put into DOT through the NPO and was approved for that. There'll be some striping, some pedestrian heads, signals there, buttons, and all that sort. So,
At the stoplight, right?
yes, sir.
Now down to the other end, I think Sam's has a stoplight. That's too far out in the way, though, right?
They do have a stoplight down there, and I will have to check and see if there was another project included for that. But I believe it was only at the northern end of Pitt.
Okay. Yeah, that would be something that we might want to look into. Because that's a distance to walk from the south end of the campus all the way down to the north end just to cross over and come all the way down in, whereas.
Certainly, and I've seen them, the majority of the folks are just cutting across
Yes.
in the middle of the block, not utilizing the signaled intersection.
That's the reason why I had my fist balled up because it was dangerous. Thank you.
And they gonna still cross if you
Yes.
put crosswalks.
But, and that is true, but at least we are
Ben, I
making
have
an
a
effort.
question for you, please.
Yes, sir.
On the Cooper Street stuff, now they did work from roughly Ain Street east down to about 4 or 5 houses. Will the work continue from there on down to Forbes Street?
No, sir, that was just a small portion of gravity sewer that needed to be redone there. That's completed. Then they hopped down to Forbes Avenue and replaced all of the gravity line that's running from the 4-way at Old Tar all the way back down to Forbes and into that pump station.
So the lines that are serving the homes there now are okay?
Yes, sir. They were not, when the engineer went through the effort to identify lines that were qualified for the project, they did not show themselves as being high in infiltration and inflow.
I was kind of interested because I live there. Okay, thank you.
The line is tight.
And we have not got a response back from the owner of the property right there on Railroad Street in front of Davis Robinson School yet, have we? The house.
That is in the minimum house. That is what our inspector will be targeting once he becomes mobile.
So nothing has not been done yet?
No, sir.
Okay.
That is on his list.
Please.
To begin investigating. He's got to go out there and lay his eyes on it and look at it and be able to investigate to generate the report.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any staff member that would like to come? We got
I'll give a
one
quick
coming.
update on the future land use plan. So we're still in the infancy stages. Right now, we've had our kickoff meeting with staff, and the consultant's been down and done a community assessment. So they're still doing their mapping and analysis of everything. So right now, staff is tasked with getting together a steering committee, which will be pretty much the guiding factor of the plan throughout. That's a big task for right now, as well as compiling some stakeholders that we're going to have our public engagement in Charette right after Christmas, or after the new year. So that's where we're at right now. So still in the infancy stages, but a lot's happening, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So we'll start having some public engagement meetings and steering committee meetings after the new year and really get the ground running there. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Sniper got me. Good evening again. Just a couple things for you real quick. One, wanted to thank all of the town staff, council, and anybody who came and enjoyed, assisted in, participated with the Halloween event. It was a really good event. I think myself and the other participants, attendees, people working with us were blown away by the attendance, the success of the event. I know that I did see a few of you there, so thank you, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much as everybody else did. We also, and stealing some of Don's thunder here, have a kind of revamped tree lighting ceremony this year. Well, not tree lighting ceremony in and of itself, but in addition to the tree lighting ceremony with the market and everything surrounding that. I think it's going to be a really neat event. And again, that's something that the town's kind of come together to work upon to make it what I think will be a very successful event. And then, of course, Christmas parade, let me back up. Tree lighting and market is November 29th. That is from 4 to 8 p.m. And then the tree lighting itself is at 6. The Christmas parade is on December 8th. The rain date for that is the 15th. That is at 2 o'clock p.m. And I believe the market on that day is 12 to 4 p.m.
To dusk.
To dusk, excuse me. That's all I got for you. Thank you.
Evan, just one note. I noticed at the park the other day, do we have any plans to restripe the parking?
Yes. Matter of fact, I got an email. That has already been bid out. We have a
Okay.
purchase order in place.
I couldn't remember whether we had talked about it. I just knew it looked.
Yeah, it needs to get done.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Christmas light ceremony, are you going to have a tree set out where we have the farmer's market at? Or are you going to
Yes, sir.
do the old setup?
No, yeah. So everything will take place at the market on the square property over there, right behind the library.
So
Yes, sir.
a tree will be placed there?
Yes, sir. It'll be
Fantastic.
So on the piece of property on the north side of the parking lot right there, it'll be roughly in the center, I don't know, 100 yards, maybe probably not even if that from the clock.
We are finalizing some details this week, just to make sure that we can then give you all a summary of what's going to be different and happening over there, so everybody will be aware as we're getting close to that date. It's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think towns really come together. I think to make it what I think will be an exciting.
A lot of folks are working hard to make it a little different and a lot of fun.
Evan, just to comment, Monday, of course, town hall and everything was closed. I went down through the park, and I was glad to see that whole place was loaded with kids playing.
The playground?
Maybe it was a party or something, I don't know, but there were about 11 cars parked out there, and the place was full of kids playing.
Yeah, the new playground, we really have gotten a lot of positive feedback on the new playground. It's gotten a lot of foot traffic. I know my kid has given it her seal of approval. We went out there the Saturday right after it opened, and it's been busy. But I think that if that shows a satisfaction, I certainly think it does in this regard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. Just to be real brief, I know you normally get your financial update from my staff prior to your council meeting. However, us being a little short-staffed, the employee that normally sends that out on behalf of our department has delivered that. Congratulations to her for her second child. So she's been out for a while. She's out on FMLA, and so we'll be short-staffed for a little while. All intentions of getting that report out to you by the end of the week, but it is coming. It's just going to take us a little bit longer until she returns back, but it's a good thing. So we just have to muddle through for a little while, but the report will be out by the end of the week. And if you have any questions when you do receive it, please, as always, feel free to give me a call.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move down. Mr. Moore?
I want to thank everybody for their help, the fire department and the police department with Veterans Day. Probably had the best one we've had. The town council came in full force. Thank you all for that, for the 18th year. There has been discussions for the last few years about the names of people who live in Winterville or outside of Winterville. Should we have a monument? This discussions, just for thought. I also attended the ACEs for Autism event. The 23 acres they bought is paid for. It's going to be named after Ron Bowen, whose stepdaughter is bought Wimpy's and is renovating that. Same person. He owns Good Stuff Tobacco, and it's been named after him and his wife, the land facility. We need to also think about December honoring Jimmy Garris. He's going out as county commissioner. And we might want to do a plaque for him in December. What's the board think about Jimmy Garris? He's going out. And we have new representation. We need to, at some point in time, I hope we'll have our wish list for our new representatives. Senator Davis, and a new one, Chris Humphrey and Candy Smith. So they go into session in January. I would also do a little thanking to Senator Pate if he gives us that money for our Main Street, as he promised. Just food for thought. Any sign on South Mill Street, entrance to town? Any idea when that sign we put there about the speed limit there coming to town? Travis? Brought that up months ago. Aiden's got one going to city limit that says 55 miles an hour.
I've talked with DOT multiple times about that.
Is it a good idea or a bad idea? What do you think?
There was some discussion about, this was a while trying to remember. In fact, you're talking about the speed limit sign, but I think the speed limit sign discussion brought about them questioning why the town limit sign was way out there to Reedy Branch Road.
Because that's our limits.
Town
road.
limit
Right,
is.
but the only town limits there is the street right of way, is what he was saying, and that they don't normally allow that. I can follow back up with him, but I think at Reedy Branch and Mill Street, the only thing that's in the town limits is the actual street right of way.
And railroad track.
The railroad track.
We did the railroad track and the road because they wouldn't
Right.
disagree.
And so he was saying that technically they might move that up, but I'll follow back up with him about the speed.
How about blocking the intersection on Cooper Street in Maine, the railroad cross it, about people blocking the streets themselves?
And I had that same discussion with him on that. I'll follow back up with him and see where, he said he would look into it and get back to me.
That's all I can ask for. Any progress on office space at this time?
Yes, sir. We have, the chamber has packed up and everything's ready to be moved out. And as soon as we get staff over there to move it out, it'll be ready. We have some filing cabinets and things to add in there for you all to be able to house documents if you so choose. So very, very close.
I got a stack of things.
Oh, well, we'll have some room for you.
And like looking tonight at the ordinances, which have not been updated for a while. It was nice to know, to go back that date. This parking space was already approved. There's no marking period, 2000. I went on board in 2005.
Well, just a quick update. Don's working really hard with American Legal to price some new ordinance books for council. Obviously, we would still get supplements as time goes by, but we've had changes and staff changes and a lot of things going on. It might be better to try to start with new updated books and then go from there. Obviously, you can always go to the website, but I realize that just like myself, people like the actual book in hand. I see Keen bring his almost every meeting, so there are several of us that still like that book in hand, and we'll try to be getting those disseminated and all once we get them in place. And minutes online have been updated, so that should be helpful for those citizens and members of council who've been looking for that.
That's all I have.
Went to the Halloween thing and I thought it was very good. Most of the parents, children, everybody seemed to enjoy it. Just add a category for pets next year. There were lots of pets around that were
in costume.
In costume.
There was one in my crowd, dressed up like Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. Okay. On the library board, I have 2 or 3 branches, and we evaluated the director. And of course, I was at this chess set dedication, and I was saying, "Oh, that would be really nice in Winterville." Well, of course, Smiley said, "Well, you want one in Winterville? Well, I have to raise money." So, anyway, y'all can think about it. In Mideast, they've been doing a lot with workforce development, getting people trained for jobs and that kind of a thing. They have a firm, Ross, ROSS, that comes in and that's going to be doing that work for them. What's his name? Lee Patrick?
Yes.
That was here with us, was there. And I'd like to invite everybody in this room and in the community to come to Mount Charlotte Church this Saturday. We're having our annual community dinner, and we give away There's no cost to the dinners. You're welcome to come eat in or take out from 11 to about 2 or 3 o'clock
That's nice.
on Saturday. So please come out and fellowship with us this Saturday. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Halloween event was great. My kids had a good time, and Veterans Day was excellent as well.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think that on our last meeting, we had a citizen was concerned about making the left turn off of Mill Street onto Cooper, right there in front of Dixie Queen. Have we done any study or have we contacted DOT on if we can get in to help on this situation?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I had several copies of letters that I was supposed to write from last meeting. I have copies of those letters. I was supposed to give them out tonight, and for some reason in my day I have neglected to do that, so I will email copies of those letters because I sent out some regarding the post office issue, that left turning issue, and I don't know if there was something else. Seems like there was something else, but I'll get copies of the letters that have been sent out to everybody.
Okay. And my last thing is a sore is post office. Where are we at with the post office with Amazon?
Have not heard back from Amazon. Honestly, I'll be surprised if I do. We'll reach out again. I have a meeting with the post office Thursday at 2 o'clock. There'll be, I believe, don't quote me, I believe there's 6 members from various locations with the Postal Service that are coming. We're going to meet. They're going to update me kind of on what they've been working on, what's possible, what's not, keep that dialogue open. The postmaster and I have been keeping regular conversations going about what the town's done, what they've done, and we'll continue to do that. But no word from Amazon.
And okay, no. And nothing, no word from the Postal Service either on doing anything different.
I have a meeting
with the
on
noise.
With the what? I have a meeting on Thursday with the post office to discuss the issue.
Yes.
There's 6 folks coming. We're going to discuss what they've done, what they can do, what they can't do. I've had continuing conversations with the postmaster on requests she's made. Thursday's meeting is going to be to get an update on where we are.
Okay. Are we going to, well, I think what I need to know, are we going to enforce the ordinance that we put in place?
I think staff always works to enforce the ordinances that we put in place. In terms of the specific actions that will be taken, I can't tell you what's going to happen right at this time, but that's all upon the assumptions that a violation is going to happen, and to date one has not occurred.
Okay, what has not occurred? Okay.
I mean, they're new. I'm not aware of any recent violations of the new ordinance that's gone in place.
But if there were, do we have a plan? I think that's what I'm asking.
I think the chief knows how his folks will enforce the ordinance upon such time as our people have witnessed a violation of the ordinance. Again, there's a plan in place if our people witness a violation of the ordinance.
That's a noise ordinance.
Yes, if our folks, our police officers witness a violation, action will be taken. Much like is the enforcement of the noise ordinance for any violation of the noise ordinance throughout town.
Okay. Well, at least we have something in place, and we're going to abide by our ordinance and stand behind it.
Yes, but I do not think, let me just say that I don't think the town has a solution in place that is going to rectify this issue for this holiday season. We have an ordinance, we're going to enforce the ordinance. I do not know that there's a holistic approach and a solution to this issue. Yet.
yet. A citation will help.
We will see.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm fine. Have nothing to say tonight, people. Let's go on.
Madam Manager?
I'm good, Mayor, thank you.
I'm just gonna ditto what, Mr. Moore said about yesterday's thing.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Really nice. One of the ladies whose husband was a Vietnam veteran, came to my house today, and, she said she was really impressed with it.
I'm glad it had such a good crowd.
We couldn't have done that with police and fire, though. They made it ready for us. We couldn't have it.
I said I didn't have anything. I would like to thank staff, as always, for everything they do to keep all of these events going. And as we get into even a busier time for staff with some of our events, they always do a great job. So thanks to everyone.
That's good.
Takes a village.
Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
So move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
What's that?
I just want us to start.
What do you do, take notes on that thing?
I use,
What do you use?
I use Adobe.
Use Adobe?
Yeah, so